say you've got to imagine yourself in a glass bottle with
Yeah,
the light
radiating out.
radiating out?
And it's silvered, so nothing can come in.
And so are you doing that to protect
Yes,
yourself?
yeah.
And is it working?
On and off, because you forget about it. It is now, there's nothing happening now. I'm feeling quite good. But this time yesterday, we were quite depressed, weren't we? Well, relatively.
No. I mean, an example, I had a dream, a really, really bad nightmare, and someone was actually going to stab me, and he woke me up instantly.
Yeah, but it was Tina's previous boyfriend many years ago who was killed in a motorcycle accident. You described it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he had no eyes, and he was alive and talking to you and that sort of thing.
And I was on my knees with my hands together,
Yeah.
and he was going to stab me to death.
Yeah.
And he woke me up.
As I say, it's an experiment. Take it what you will. Gentlemen at the back, I'll speak about that. I'll open suggestion.
Coming your way.
Yeah. See, what's happened is I've got 15, 20 years ago, I wouldn't take much notice of that, would I? But my life experiences have changed, moved on, so I am now. There we go. Right, any questions? So I'll ask you some questions. Yeah.
The judges take common law oaths.
They do, yeah. Clause 49, if I think correctly, Magna Carta says, the Crown may have servants, none but true men who know the law and mean to keep it. None but true men who know the law and mean to keep it. And that's a common law rule. And because it's a common law rule, that's where the requirement for the oath of allegiance comes from, and the coronation oath. You're familiar with the Coronation Oath Act, aren't you? The Coronation Oath Act is on the UK Statutory Law Database, and it specifies the questions that are asked of prospective monarchs. So in 1953, the coronation ceremony is partially elective, because the primogeniture rule, the rule that the oldest son automatically gets the job, is a new invention. It's not necessarily part of the law. Go back to Saxon times. If the king died and he had more than one son, the Witan will be assembled, and the three men will vote. How do the three men vote? Personal weapon, yeah. Vote of a free man. And if they couldn't decide, what was plan B?
Draw lots.
Nearly right. Draw swords. It was trial by combat. So decisions over kingship and land were decided by combat. If you won, God was obviously on your side, and that was the end of it. And that's why, in my skeleton argument, I'm invoking the Treaty of Magna Carta, where King John, the barons have risen up, the population within, London's in the rebels' hands, as he described them. He's hiding in Windsor Castle. Damn, the game's up, I better come out and sign. So he did. He later argued to the Pope. He wrote a Weasley letter to the Pope saying, they made me do it, and the Pope letter back saying, of course I'm on your side, as long as you sign all of England over to me, I'll absolve you.
But that actually happened, the Treaty of 1213,
Yeah.
Treaty of Rome,
Yeah.
and that's never been annulled or repealed to my knowledge.
But it's covered by no foreign prince or potentate may have dominion within the kingdom. So, yeah. And there's an act of supremacy in 1547 by Henry VIII.
Do you agree, may I ask?
Yeah.
In view of that wording, no foreign prince,
Yeah.
potentate, and all the rest of it, it is impossible under our constitution for us to be in the EU.
Well, that's right, because the Crown can do no wrong. So whatever treaty her ministers have signed, she can't do it. That's, the Prince of the Queen can do no wrong. Means she can't be put in front of a court because she's in charge of the courts. But she can do no wrong. She hasn't got the power to do wrong. And it goes straight back to the first principle of police work: never try and make somebody do something unless you can. Of course, that's where they've overreached themselves, and now people are saying, "Well, hang on a minute." Yep.
Jeremy Nibel, if I've got his name right, said that actual common law has now been superseded by EU law.
It's nonsense. So we're talking about the coronation ceremony. So the first thing is the Queen's presented to the four corners of the cathedral. Will you have the Queen? And they say aye. I'm on standby for when Charles gets the job, and I'll say no, definitely. He'll allow Hayley outside. The next phase is does anyone want to challenge her right? And that's that she has the Queen's champion, who's a retired general in parade armour with a parade sword and a big leather gauntlet handy. And what's that for?
Throw down the gauntlet.
Throw down the gauntlet, or slap somebody and say, go outside. That's right, yeah.
So could we do that?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be old.
Does that apply to magistrates as well? Because they're representing the Queen.
Trial by combat is for disputes over land and kingship. Yeah, it was the last case where it was invoked was 1819, but it was an ordinary criminal case where somebody said, "Well, I'll trial by combat." and a statute was passed which confirmed that it's only for land. When a statute goes against the common law, it's wrong, and it doesn't repeal it, it infringes it. So, you know the American right to bear arms? The right to bear arms shall not be infringed. They can only ever infringe it, they can't repeal it. They say they can, but they can't. So that's our argument. So we go back to the coronation ceremony, and the Archbishop of Canterbury says to the Queen, will you rule the kingdom according to its laws, customs and statutes agreed on? And she says yes. Will you cause justice and mercy to be executed in your judgments? And she says yes. So laws, common law, customs, things like the order of the City of London, drive sheep across Tower Bridge whenever they like, and statutes agreed on, and it confirmed the principle that statutes are binding on the Crown. And that came up in my case, strange enough, because I remember I mentioned the confirmation of the Charter Act 1297 and the Petition of Right 1641. The council official ignored those because they tell him, first of all, that the Magna Carta is a common law, so the Barons Committee is valid. And secondly, they say to him, well, common consent, there's no common consent to this tax because the Barons have withdrawn it, and they basically ignored it. So that's contempt of statute, that's treason.
Can you just comment on these letters patent?
Right, letters patent. It works like this. This is the scandal that have we had a valid Parliament since 1999?
No.
Yeah, I'd argue since 1911 actually, because in 1911 the Parliament Act was passed, which took away the veto from the House of Lords. So in 1919, Asquith, Fabian, and so on. Prevailed on the King to give royal assent to an act which purported to say the Lords can only delay an act by 3 years. They can't veto it. So we haven't had lawful parliament in 1911. What happened in 1999 was the House of Lords Act 1990 was passed, and it purported to take away the rights of members of the House of Lords to sit in the House and vote. Now, in actual fact, Mike Burke and John Bingley and I were in the House on that night. And we saw Viscount Cranborne in the distance, so we were going in the central lobby, and we were going to put him right because we were primed by the Magna Carta Society. And he scuttled away. He comes from a long line of traitors, it would appear. His family's been tainted by treason in the past.
He doesn't live very far from
yeah, that's right. So that's another issue. He was the whip. He was the Conservative whip that persuaded. There was no resistance to it. They rolled over. They're out of order. So what the House of Lords Act 1990 did, it says it purported to take away the right to sit in Parliament. Now, I've researched this, and there are two sources. One is Blackstone's Commentaries on all the Laws of England, and the other is a book called Erskine May. And Erskine May is parliamentary procedure. Yeah. So look at the composition of Parliament, and if you're a Lord, you get, when you reach age, and your father's dead, or traitors, you get letters patent, which is an instruction from the Queen, right? It's similar to a Queen's Commission. Trust you and well beloved, you're a good egg, you're a lord, basically. And the only way that can be taken away is by your misconduct, if you're attainted of treason. And the House of Lords, because you're entitled by jury by trial by your peers, and if you're a lord, it's a lord. And that's the only way. And the last time it was done was in the Civil War period. There was a lord called Strafford who did something he shouldn't have done and was attainted and executed as well. So anyway, the peers who rolled over in 1999, they duly handed in their House of Commons passes, because the security run by police there handed in their House of Commons passes and stopped voting, stopped going there. Subsequently, there's a bit of a resistance movement, and I've got the letters, and I've quoted them in my case. They get an admission from Baroness Ashton, communist fellow traveller certainly. Traitor, yeah. Yeah, that's right, yeah. That yes, we made a bit of a whoopsie. This is the Labour government. We made a bit of a whoopsie. We accept that letters patent can't be taken away except by a specific act of Parliament. A general rule won't suffice. So the argument is, Crystal Story circulated this, didn't he? No valid Parliament since 1999.
And Ashley Moat.
And Ashley Moat, yes, yeah. Ashley Moat was a founder member of the Magna Carta Society.
John Gurrier wasn't he?
John Gurrier, unfortunately, passed away. Yes, yeah.
Two good people.
Yeah.
What's happened to this Christopher Story? What happened?
Well, John Gurrier had heart trouble. He had a pacemaker. Christopher Story, don't know. You need to go with absolutely.
There's a little bit of a funny thing about that, isn't
Is there?
Well, yeah.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. No, it wouldn't surprise me.